Welcome back. After the first lesson, I hope that you've been familiar with all the piano keys. You also have a good posture while playing piano, and your skill is improving every day with the warm-up exercise. Today in lesson 2, we will learn about sight reading, starting with the definition of the staff, treble clef and bass clef, the relationship between the notes and the piano keys, and start reading and playing notes on the treble clef. Are you ready? Let's get started. Sight reading is the ability to read and perform a piece of music you've never seen or played before. All songs or pieces of music are written on a music sheet like this. So in order to know how to read and perform the music, we will need to understand each component written on the music sheet. The first definition is the staff. It consists of 5 horizontal lines and 4 spaces between the lines. Later we will know how to read the notes based on the position on the staff. Just bear in mind that lines and spaces are cut from the bottom to the top of the staff. These symbols at the beginning of the staff are clefs. The top one is called treble clef, which represents the high sounds. Remember from the last lesson, the more you go to the right, the higher the sound is. So we usually use the treble clef for the right hand. Well, we can play high sounds with left hand too. But for now, to keep it simple, we could think about using treble clef for the right hand. The bottom symbol here is called bass clef, which represents the low sounds and therefore usually play with your left hand. Now let's talk about notes. A note is marked by a circle. Look at this example of music sheet. Each circle is a note, and reading music basically means reading notes. Each piano key is represented visually with a note on the music sheet. Now I will show you the relationship between the notes and the keys, and it's pretty interesting. I highly recommend that you go through lesson 1 before jumping to this lesson because they are closely interrelated. Back to what we learned in lesson 1, the keys follow the same pattern throughout the entire keyboard. That's why we only use the first 7 alphabet letters to name them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then start all over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The notes on the staff follow exactly the same pattern. Now on the treble clef, the note on the very first line is E, representing this key E on the piano. Don't worry about memorizing the notes here, I will show you the tips in a few minutes. For now, I'm just demonstrating the relationship between the notes on the music sheet and the piano keys, so just relax. This note on the music sheet is an E, representing this key E on the keyboard. Now, if we move this note a bit up to the first space, it is F, which is also the next key on the piano. Okay, one step higher to the second line is G, which represents the next key G. Up to the second space, the note starts over as A. On the piano, we have A. Next one on the staff is B, same as on the piano, B. One more step to C, on the keyboard C. On the fourth line, note D represents this key D. Next one E, on the piano, E. And the last line note is F, which is the next key F. Here you go all the notes on the treble staff, and obviously they follow the same pattern of the piano keys. The alphabet is repeated in sequence. We begin again on A after reaching G. However, we won't memorize those notes one by one. It might take you forever. There is a tip here that will help you recognize the notes on the treble clef much easier. Firstly, you will notice that each note is either a space note or a line note. The first space notes on the treble clef are F, A, C, E. The word face helps you remember them. The 5 line notes are E, G, B, D, F. The sentence "every good boy does fine" could be used for easy memorization. And always keep in mind that they are started from the bottom to the top of the staff. Okay, now let's have an example. We could figure out the name of this note. It is a space note and located on the second space. So we refer to face and start counting F, A. It's then note A. Another example, this one is a line note and on the fourth line. Therefore, we use the sentence "every good boy does fine." Number 4, so every good boy does. We have note D. Makes sense, right? That's the tip for you to recognize all the notes on the treble staff. However, what happens when we want to write a note which is higher or lower than the notes presented on the staff? Of course, the 5 lines and 4 spaces are not sufficient to represent all the keys on your keyboard. And that's why we need to use what is known as leisure line. The short lines placed above and below the staff for higher and lower notes. We will learn about those leisure notes in the following lessons. But for today, I would like to introduce to you a special leisure note, middle C. We know that treble clef is for high notes and bass clef is for low notes. Now imagine there is one invisible line between them. This line acts as a bridge that connects the two staffs together. And the note situated on this line is middle C. On the music sheet, middle C is written on the leisure line below the treble staff and above the bass staff. On the piano, it's in the middle of the keyboard. Well, not exactly in the middle, but close enough, right? So it's like in the middle of everything. That explains why middle C is so special. This is how middle C is normally presented on the treble staff. If you move the note up to the next page and follow the pattern that we just discussed, you will have note D, since D is right after C. So for those staying on the lines or spaces of the staff, we use face or every good boy does fine to identify them. The note located on the first leisure line below the staff is C, and the one located on the space right under the staff is D. Here you go on the notes on the treble clef that we learned today. Now given that we have figured out the name of the notes on the music sheet, the next step is to know which key to be played on the piano. Before that, I want to teach you about an octave. An octave is the distance between one note and another note with the same letter name, so it includes 8 white keys on the piano. For example, this octave comprises of 8 white keys, starting from a C to the next C. On my keyboard, this is an octave. This is another octave. Or this is also an octave. The one started with middle C is called middle C octave. Now back to the treble clef notes, let's pay attention to the middle line of the staff, which is the third line. For any note that is on or below the middle line, we will play in the middle C octave. Those notes located above the middle line are played in the next octave. So by determining whether the note is above or below the middle line of the staff, we can know which octave the key belongs to. Now go back to our previous examples. We figured out this note is an A and is below the middle line, so the note is within the middle C octave. Okay, and where is A in this octave? Recall what we learned in lesson 1. Grandparents' house, aunt. Here you go, A. Cool, what about this note D? It's above the middle line, so it should be in the next octave, right? Which is this D. Now we will practice what we just learned by reading and playing a short easy version of the alphabet song. Exciting, right? The first note is on the first leisure line below the staff, so it's middle C. Next, same note. This note is a line note on the staff. We refer to every good boy does fine. Second line, so every good, it is then G. Now what about the key? The note is below the middle line, so it's in the middle C octave. We look for G. Group of 3 black keys. G for grandparents, first middle key. Next, same note, play the same key. Now look at the following note. There are two ways to identify it. The first method is the traditional one that we just learned. It's on a space, we then refer to phase. Second space, so FA, we have letter A. It's below the middle line, so the key is within the middle C octave, which is this key A. The second method is very useful, specifically to this piece of music. We have known the previous note here is a G, and this one is one step up from G, right? From a line to the next space. So it is the note right after G, which is A. On the piano, also the key right after this G, A. Okay, next, same note, we play A again. And the last note is the same as this one, right? We have G. Don't worry about the color of this one. I know it's a bit different. We will learn about its meaning in the following lessons. But for today, we know that it's also a G. Now we play all together with the finger numbers as on the screen. C, C, G, G, A, G. So that concludes your piano lesson 2. I hope that you enjoy it and you learned a ton. I know that it might be a bit challenging at first, but practice makes perfect. So that's why you have the exercises to help you better understand the theories and memorize them. The exercise section for today's lesson will give you some music sheet for you to read and play the treble clef notes. My reckon is to practice reading first by writing down the notes' names and make sure they are correct. And then try playing on your keyboard, same as what we've just done with the alphabet song. And I will see you again on a one-on-one tutorial. Thanks for watching.